So, okay, so if you guys can mute your microphones, that would be great. My name is Renee Hobbs. Welcome to, I guess the name of this class is EDC 534, Digital Authorship. Today's date is February 20th. It's Martin Luther King Day, 2017. And I am here with the amazing students of EDC 534. We have a really cool class today, and I feel like now we're getting into the, I don't know, the really messy and interesting parts of this class. So for me, this very, very good for my writing and my research. And I think one of the reasons why I love teaching grad school so much is I get to have exposure to great students like you guys. So one thing I just want to call your attention to is that I have, I think, got almost all, or maybe even all of your diagrams up on this chart. And I do, if you haven't looked at these, I do invite you to use these tools to fertilize and stimulate your thinking, because each of you in your own creative way is doing some synthesis. And what's so fascinating to me is we're all reading, well, more or less the same things, right? But we're all making sense of it in different ways because of our different backgrounds and life experiences and passions and understandings and interpretations. So that's, of course, what's really intriguing to me, is to see how many different ways there are using digital tools of creating this visual synthesis. Now, I know when we talked last week, you guys weren't, there was a mixed, you were kind of mixed minds about the challenge of trying to synthesize using visual tools. But in a way, this activity is aiming to prepare you for your leap to experience. And so probably the best thing to do, since our theme is about creative collaboration, is to just check to make sure that you guys are all comfortable with the next big leap that's due next Tuesday. Explain a key idea. At this point, I just want to make sure that you guys know what you're creating, that you have a plan for it, and that if you have any questions, now would be a good time to ask. What questions do you have about Leap 2? Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was going through and I picked out actually a key idea from Buckingham that I wanted to use, but I am also finding that key idea presented by other authors. Should I primarily focus on what Buckingham is presenting, or do you think I should incorporate more than one author?
That is a great question, and it's a strategic question too, right? So, because that question is really about who's your target audience and what's your purpose, right? So I'd say think a little bit about those two questions, because either way, I could see it being a success. There is something kind of nice about, here's a close reading of one author and his unique take on blah, blah, blah. There is something, I mean, for some viewers of your screen, your video production, screencast, or whatever, that will be a sell. He's a pretty big name. On the other hand, the stuff that you're choosing to focus on, since, like you said, these are topics that have been talked about for 30 years, maybe as you start developing it, you may find that it's useful to sort of point out that, like, it's not like Buckingham invented this shit, right? He's articulating a view that is actually kind of widely held in the knowledge community, right? So depending on your purpose and your understanding of the audience needs, either of those strategies could be effective. But the fact that you're thinking about it that way, Kristen, means you're right on target for where you should be in the pre-production process. Happy to have that question. microphone sounded really weird, but you'll mute your microphone until you're going to speak, okay?
Sure.
And you can see how you do that down at the bottom where it says mute my audio. Cool. What other questions do you have about Leap 2? Okay, so let's you guys are up for Leap 2. Leap 2 is usually a really powerful experience. And I guess what I want to do is talk a little bit about why Leap 2 is so important from my point of view. And to do that, I have to do a little bit of, doing and discussion. And for some of you, I think, although maybe, I don't know, none of you actually guys have actually had me before, right? So I think this will be, oh yeah, Dan. So Dan, this might be new to you. Not new to you because I try to work this into everything I teach. But what I want to do is talk a little bit about why, what you're doing with Leap 2, where you're explaining somebody else's ideas, why, and then of course you're inflecting when you're explaining somebody else's ideas, you're always talking about your own ideas, right? You can't help it. So when you're making Leap 2, as much as you're going to be explaining somebody else's key ideas, you're also going to be putting your own ideas in there. That's just what's so awesome about scholarship. And the thing that many graduate students, especially at the MA level, don't completely understand is this idea of scholarship as a conversation. And in fact, this Leap 2 project is a form of multimodal scholarship. And one of the earliest writers to explain this idea of scholarship as a conversation is a guy named Kenneth Burke, right? And the best way for me to introduce you to Kenneth Burke's idea of scholarship as a conversation is for us to watch and discuss a short video called The Burkean Parlor. And so at this point, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to click on the Burkean Parlor, or if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see it here. It's just a short video. What we're going to do is mute our microphones and watch the little 3-minute video and then come back and talk about it. So give me a thumbs up if you understand that we're going to be watching this video now with your microphones muted. We'll watch for 3 minutes and then we'll talk. All right. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you finished watching that little 1-minute video. Looks like you guys have mostly finished watching that 1-minute video. Okay, so that is a beautiful metaphor for the idea of a scholarly community. And Dan Tucker, maybe you more than anyone understand the idea of how the legacy of that scholarly conversation goes way, way, way back in time, right? And is actually a fundamental aspect of the nature of how humans construct, right? How humans construct knowledge, right? So that's a kind of important idea for you're thinking about your leap 2, right? In just a short period of time, as you do leap 2, you're not going to become an expert on the whole thing. But like it says in the video, you listen for a while till you catch the tenor of the argument, and then you put in your or. But one thing that I think is really important to do is to understand sort of what are the codes and conventions or the rules for how we build upon and use the ideas of others, and why those rules are so important in the academic knowledge community. When I was an undergraduate, I thought all the rules about citation and quoting and citing sources was kind of stupid and artificial. And only as I grew into the community did I understand the deep respect that is at the heart of that practice. So, and now just give me a thumbs up. Can you see my slides as I'm playing them now? Yeah, they're showing up, right? Okay, cool. So this idea that scholarship is or academic discourse is a conversation is a really cool idea. And that makes it possible for us to realize that, just like when you walk into a, cocktail party, you're not going to be able to participate in every single conversation that's going on, right? But you can walk around and find conversations that you can connect with, right? Or you can work the room, right? But you might not be able to participate in the whole thing. So there's the quote from Kenneth Burke's marvelous book, The Philosophy of Literary Form. This idea that this conversation has been going on long before you started. So in some ways, when we talk about academic writing, we have to admit that it's highly social. Through writing, we engage with the work of others. And we enter an academic conversation, we use the ideas of others as a sounding board or as a launching pad for our own ideas. And it's actually thought that if you enter an academic conversation and you don't connect with or respond to or use the ideas of others in your own work, it's considered kind of rude. The same way that entering a cocktail party and just stumbling into a group and right away started talking about yourself would be perceived as kind of rude. So this idea of entering an academic conversation using the ideas of others it's a sign of respect for the fact that the conversation has gone on long before you started talking about it. Now, Gerald Graff wrote this great book. This is the book I'm really summarizing from myself today. It's called They Say, I Say, The Moves That Matter in Academic Writing. And I feel like even at the graduate level, the ability to deploy what you're reading and use it in your own writing is something that students need to practice. When we respond to other people's work, we can agree with, challenge, or respond to the ideas of others. And of course, templates or models can be really good for that. And Gerald Graff says that one way to think about that is the 3 ways that you can incorporate other people's ideas into your writing: summarizing, paraphrasing, and direct quotation. So summarizing is when you condense the main ideas of the writer's argument into your own words, showing the reader that the information that you read has passed through your mind and that you've interpreted and analyzed it, and you haven't just copied from the original source. One reason why beginning scholars make a mistake is they jump right to direct quotation without actually orienting the reader to the main idea of the author's work. So summarizing is a really important practice that shows that you're familiar with the author's big ideas. So here's a couple of examples. What that often looks like is sentences that provide a summary of the main idea. And usually in academic work, it uses that citation format, author, comma, date. So I use Lemish, Liebes, and Seidman's article about boys and girls having different media preferences to connect to the idea that parents may actually be responsible for some of that, some of those preferences. In paraphrasing, you pull out one or two sentences of a writer's work and you put those into your own work. This is really an important practice in academic scholarship because that's how we learn, right? That's how we learn. We borrow and rework and remix and steal from the coolest ideas of the people we've been reading. Why else would we be reading them if not to use their ideas in our own thinking? So when you're paraphrasing, you're highlighting the details or the facts or the specific information provided. So for instance, here's a paraphrase, right, from Livingstone and Beauville, 2001. In most US and European nations, 2/3 of girls play electronic games and an increasing number use the internet. But of course, it's still gendered. Girls, when asked to choose what medium children would prefer as a gift, girls choose a television set, boys choose a computer. And so I want to connect that idea to consumer merchandising and also say, it's not just about gender, it's also about the marketing practices, right? The marketing to children and gender-specific marketing is shaping that, right? So I've acknowledged the fact of gendered media use, and then I've used it as a launching pad to make my own argument. Now, the third type of use of sources participating in the Burkean parlor is the use of a direct quotation. And you only use a direct quotation when the specific quote you choose is very powerful. This is one of the biggest mistakes that young scholars make, is they quote shit that's boring or stupid, right? Don't do that, right? Do not use too many direct quotes or quotes that are too long. And then if you did it, the writing would not be truly your own. So alert the reader that you are quoting and close the quote in quotation marks, right? So the typical convention is to make sure you've got the author, the date, and the page number. Whenever you use a direct quotation, right, page number is really, really important. Okay, so you're probably wondering, you might be wondering, you know, why are we doing this? And it's because we're developing some strategies that will help us be effective at remixing other people's ideas into our own creative work. Okay, so, and you'll see kind of how I'm gonna ask you to use these ideas in the week that's coming up. Okay, so now I wanna turn to our small group discussion, right? Because you read some really cool stuff this week, right? You read Alyssa Soap, you read Patricia Lang, and you read Andrew Byrne. And all of these writers are introducing us to different ways to think about the concept of collaboration. Collaboration in the youth media after school program, a collaboration in the family, and collaboration in the school. That's one way we could think about these three writers and how they are reflecting on digital authorship in the three different settings where they work, right? But it's also the case that these three authors also represent different time periods, right? Lissa Soaps writing in the early 2000s. Then Byrne and Lang are writing more recently, right? So we have to understand they're not just writing about different kinds of youth media or different contexts of youth media, they're also writing at different time periods. So who they're referencing and what they're linking to depends on where they are in the sort of knowledge chain. You know, Lang and Byrne have the benefit of having Lissa Soap write this article in the Harvard Ad Review so long ago. So what we're going to do next is we're going to break up into small groups. I've prepared what I think are some, now, in my opinion, these are amazing questions. Any one of these questions could keep you in discussion for half an hour or more. But as I read them aloud, I'd like you to think about the one or two that you would be interested in talking about in your small group. Okay, so here's the first one. Number one, what is joint framing and youth-led inquiry? How are adults involved in these practices? This is from Lissa Soap's article on the pedagogy of collegiality. How does mediated intervention help learners move from the gut reaction to a deeper and more thoughtful response? Number three, what are some positive and negative dimensions of distributed accountability? Then some questions from Patricia Lang. What is a video-mediated lifestyle? Why do parents make YouTube videos featuring their children? Why are they so popular? Number six, what are the codes and conventions associated with home or home mode video? Number seven, Lang. Lang described parents who post images of their children's crying on YouTube. What motivates a parent to do this? And finally from Lang, what is learned and communicated in the process of making a pranking video? So those questions are about digital authorship in the family and home setting. And then two questions from Andrew Byrne on digital authorship in the school context. What happens when kids get to explore popular culture like Harry Potter in the context of the classroom? How does popular culture support what Byrne calls heritage culture? And then number 10, what are some disciplinary challenges and opportunities for media teachers and ICT teachers? Okay, so really it's probably better just to focus down on one or two questions. Choose a question that's interesting to you. Share your ideas about that question with the folks in your group. Listen to the ideas of others, respond. We're only going to do that for about 7 minutes. Give me a thumbs up if you understand how we're going to break into small groups now. And we're going to engage in a short small group discussion for about 7 minutes. And then we'll come back and do some sharing. Looks like you guys are ready for that. So I'm going to put you into groups now. Let's see if I can figure out how to do that. Oops. You'd think I could figure that out, right? Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. Let's see if that works. You should be getting a little pop-up saying join a group, and let's see if that works there. Yep.
Yeah, I like 5.
Yeah, because of Lang and YouTube.
Yeah, I didn't read the
Let me go back.
So 5 is why do parents make YouTube videos featuring their children? What makes them so popular?
Okay, so if you're watching me now, the breakout teams are breaking out, and you should be discussing these things. And if you are not able to participate live, you can post your comment in responding to one of these questions as a YouTube video or as a text comment. think it's cool how you guys like come back. It's really like, whoa, freaky. Because it's a little bit similar to what happens in a face-to-face classroom, right? Where when you break up into small groups, then there's like some transition time around how you come back, right, to the group. Okay, it looks like we're almost all back. All right, we're of course, I am so curious about which of the questions you chose to focus on. And so I'll just invite anyone who wants to share an aha that happened from listening or sharing. Who wants to go first?
I'll go ahead.
Thank you.
We actually, the ladies in our group, we discussed the number 10 question about the disciplinary challenges, excuse me, and opportunities. And it really related within my tweet this week, as well as the post that I added, because I find this in my work to be one of the more frustrating elements of the fact that I know we need to be able to work across disciplines, but and we all kind of had this same joint ideas. The problem becomes giving people the opportunity and the time to discuss and to try to collaborate and to try to create together in order to allow their students to create together. They're just not afforded the opportunities to do that. And we decided it's certainly not the teacher's fault. It happens to be part of possibly the physical setup of the school building, for one. It can be the way that the curriculum is established. And these are problems that need to be solved at a higher level than the classroom teacher can actually address.
Such a key insight, Mary, such a key insight. Collaboration takes time. And there are structural factors that inhibit teacher collaboration. One thing, when I went to Japan last summer and got to see Japanese schools that I was so intrigued about. In Japanese schools, the teacher doesn't own the classroom space. The teacher has a desk in a shared workspace, kind of like a great big rumpus room where, like, for instance, all the social studies teachers are, or all the grade 9 teachers are. And then the teacher moves into the classroom, but when the teacher's not teaching, they can't be in their classroom. They have to be in this shared collaborative space. So teachers are more likely to bump into each other and to interact with each other, far more likely, because of that structure. So collaboration takes time, and there are structures in the way our buildings and our systems are designed that make it hard for teachers to collaborate.
Yes.
Great big aha. Who's got another that emerged in your discussion that you'd like to share?
Yeah, we talked only one question. The question we talked is why is YouTube so popular? And I'm interested in this question, so we talked about this. So we, I think the first thing is social connection. The YouTube can connect people, and then the followers, they are getting the followers from different people, and they feel cool about that. And also the other point is the people. I mean, even the kids. One of our group members shared. Her daughter is 12 years old, and they want to, to get to know to people, and they want to get famous. So the idea of getting famous is another point. And the third one is I heard that if there are more followers, and people will get funded for the uploading of YouTube, and then I'm surprised to know about that. And then I feel, to me, I feel that there are two sides for everything. I mean, there should be some disadvantages of being of YouTube too, but we don't have time to talk about that.
But you found 3 good and very different reasons for that sharing. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. We have time for one more aha. It came
It's
from
us.
the discussion.
It's us. Can you hear me well?
You sound great.
Yes. Yes. So we talked about parents that take videos of their kids crying and then upload that to YouTube. And we discussed, what potentially, what could they be thinking in doing that? What goes on in their minds when parents do that, take a minor child who's crying and upload it on a video, on a YouTube. First of all, I was thinking that the way I see it is that parents typically could either be seeking for attention. There could be some psychological or problems that a parent could be having in doing so, in thinking that way. Or nonetheless, they could also be thinking about letting the public know about the incident to why that child is crying. There was one that I watched when a parent was taking a child to a dentist. That child was crying throughout the time they were driving. And the father kept saying, you should stop crying, screaming at the child, doing this, and was recording everything. So the question, we were trying to share amongst ourselves was, why would that parent be doing that? Could it be to bring the attention of how kids feel when they're going to the dentist? So that all the children could see that, or all the parents could see that, or just that they want to show off themselves and their children up to the wall so that people could see that. So there's just all the different sides of looking at this. The actual incident itself by that crying, or what may have led to that incident, which is the idea of going to the dentist that could be painful to that child or scary to the child that's crying.
Yeah.
So we talked about that.
Very, very nice. It's really an interesting part of the Lang essay where she unpacks a bunch of different motivations and kind of disrupts some of our stereotypes, right? She really does. Yeah. She takes it seriously that sometimes depictions of crying and other bad behavior actually might be done for really great, really the right reasons. Well, of course, I'll share with you one of my favorite ahas about this week's readings. Patricia Lang and I were both kind of obsessed with the same question in the same year. She must have been writing that book in about 2013. And in 2013, I was absolutely compelled to focus on this question of pranking video. What is learned and communicated in the process of making a pranking video? And Lang does a pretty good job of explaining essentially how a pranking video works in the context of at least one family, where she focuses in on the father who plays pranks with his kids and who does pranking videos. And at about the same time that Patricia Lang was writing her article, I was working on a project around pranking too with my colleague Silke Graf, and we published this research in a journal called First Monday. It's an internet research journal. What we did was we looked at a phenomenon called the scary maze game prank. We looked at it because we were really interested in finding out about how YouTubers represented themselves, the perpetrator of the prank, the victim of the prank, and maybe witnesses to the prank. And so what we were able to do is we found 200 YouTube examples of the scary maze game prank, 100 that were produced in the United States and 100 that were produced in Germany. And we coded them in a content analysis looking for all kinds of qualities, right? And so what did we find? Surprisingly, we found that while American children under age 12 were commonly featured as victims, of the Scary Maze game, only rarely were children under 12 featured as victims in the German videos. We found that the US videos lingered on the pain of prank victims, even looping the emotional response of the victim to create an instant replay effect, or using post-production techniques like editing, music, and title credits. And we wondered if the pranking videos were an expression of Schadenfreude, the wonderful German concept of taking pleasure in the pain of others. And we thought of pranking videos as an example of the dark side of participatory culture. And in a way, Patricia Lang's chapter, she actually presents the bright side of pranking videos, at least in this chapter. So for me, the challenge of her ideas were, she forced me to accept the point that pranking videos can be harmless in many family contexts. Because of my research, I didn't see much stuff that looked harmless, right? At least not among the most popular YouTube videos. But Patricia Lang helped me stretch a little bit and see another side to the story, because she collected data from interviewing children and families who were participating in making prank videos. I didn't use that method. So I find this issue of thinking about digital authorship and the conclusions we come to depends on where you sit. And it depends on what methods you use to interrogate, and it depends on the context. Okay, so all that is by way of kind of setting us up for the last activity that I want to do with you. And I just have a little bit of time, so we'll do this kind of quickly. I want to talk about songwriting as collaboration, because I think you guys have learned a lot in this week's readings about the conditions under which collaboration thrive and how collaboration is structured and modeled. Let's watch this short video about songwriting as collaboration. This comes from the work I did in the Russell Byers Charter School in Philadelphia. We see a group of rising sixth graders, or fifth graders, I think, rising fifth or sixth graders. And so you're going to click on that link and you're going to scroll down to this video. We're going to watch this video. As you watch, your focus question is, what are the different types of collaboration that you see? We're going behind the scenes in the making of an original song. Your question is, what different kinds of collaboration are noticeable here? All right, give me a thumbs up if you understand what we're doing. We're going to mute the microphone.
What idea do you guys think, out of all the ideas, that you would most like to write a song about? We'll start with Sierra. We'll go to Mike after.
Look at this.
microphone on. Turn my microphone on. What forms of collaboration did you see happening in that classroom?
Are you meaning like the fact that they were even collaborating on the lyrics? They were just trying to develop that. I mean, even coming up with an idea initially was a collaboration process
Good.
as well.
Two good examples. What else did you see?
The whole class was helping like develop the song. So it was, you know, teacher to student and then student to student, but then also students working with this popular song, remixing it, and then at the end, all of the groups getting a chance to put in their ideas.
I noticed that. What else did you notice? What kinds of collaboration did you see?
I thought it was interesting because it seemed like they all had like their own job, but it all came together in the end because they all had, you know, they worked in small groups, and then some of them were, you know, writing the song. One of the students was playing the actual piano, but it all came together, and then they were able to play it at the very end and collaborate together and sing the song.
Yeah, it's really clear that the teacher had to do some heavy scaffolding in the beginning there, right?
Yeah.
Right. We saw some seriously heavy scaffolding in the beginning, but then we also saw how, as students displayed some talent, he was able to channel that talent in interesting ways. So Alyssa Soap's ideas about and you could also see how invested the teacher was himself in this project, right? That was pretty obvious, and Alyssa Soap makes that point in her essay, right? That grown-ups are invested in this work and are not, and if they're not, then projects will frequently fail to thrive. Okay, so I do invite you to poke around at the Discovering Media Literacy website. There's basically this is a little professional development, like an hour-long sort of conversation with teachers with a bunch of different materials to see how to teach about collaboration through songwriting. But now, because we only have a few minutes remaining, let me talk about what I'd like you to do for this week coming up. First of all, I want to review expectations about the next project that's coming. That's the Multimedia Reflective Essay. This happens to be due not next Monday, but the Monday after that, which is Monday, March 3rd. This is really where you're doing some academic writing, right, and some synthesis. So in this essay, you identify and describe key ideas and information that you're learning in this class, and you make a connection between the ideas that are most important or relevant to you. Then you reflect on your participation in this course. What are you noticing about yourself as a learner and as a digital author? In this multimedia reflective essay, it's designed to give you the opportunity to identify ideas from the course and readings that are most relevant, important, meaningful to you, build bridges between these ideas and your personal and professional identity, and 3, to reflect on your experience as a learner in the course. So what you're going to be doing is putting this up on your blog post. So that means you are expected to use a combination of language, images, sound, and multimedia as part of your creative expression, but this is primarily a written essay. You must tweet a link to your essay. I'm expecting it to be about 4 to 5 pages. Really, what I'm hoping that you do is summarize, analyze, and synthesize key ideas from the readings using the they say, I say approach. So I should see evidence of summarizing, paraphrasing, and direct quotation to demonstrate your understanding. You should, in this essay, present some connections between ideas that are most personally and professionally meaningful to you, and reflect on your own experience as a learner in this course, because how we're learning and what we're learning are kind of related, right? And I hope it's a well-written and informative, thoughtful, and reflective essay, no grammar or spelling errors, and some form of multimedia expression to reflect your ideas. What questions do you have about the multimedia essay, which is due on March 2nd?
I just have a quick question. March 2nd is a Thursday, is that right?
Is
that true? Oh, my apologies. It's the Monday. It's the Monday after I might have the dates wrong. Could that be right? Yes, so March 6th, excuse me.
March 6th.
Yeah,
Okay.
There's the correct date right there.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for correcting me. It's getting late at night there. Who's got another question? Thank you for correcting the due date is Monday, March 6th.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay, if you guys have questions, you know how to ask me them, right? You tweet them to me. That's the best way to get your question answers. Here's what I want you to do for next week. Next week, our topic is awesome. It's called Freedom and Responsibility, Issues of Identity and Representation. The questions we're asking ourselves are, what are the obligations that authors have to themselves, their subjects, and their audiences? So you're going to read and respond by entering the conversation, the Burkean parlor. I want you to read Patricia Lang's chapter and then choose 2 of the readings from the list below. Using the prompt question, what are the obligations that authors have to themselves, their subjects, and their audiences? I'd like you to create a series of 3 to 5 PowerPoint slides using the they say, I say structure to identify key information and ideas from the readings and present your interpretation and response. Through this activity, we're engaging with a simple, low-tech practice of creative collaboration while examining the literature and focusing on the content and ideas of the reading. After creating, be sure to place your PowerPoint slides in alignment with the other work created by your peers so that the ideas are sequenced explicitly to connect and build with each other. So you're going to go to this page right here. It's a Google Slides. Okay, it should be loading. Is it loading? It's taking its sweet time for loading. I don't know why. It's taking a while. Come on, baby. There we go. There we go. So this slide deck starts out with freedom and responsibility in digital authorship. We're reminding you scholarship is a conversation. We're talking next week, we're talking about 3 decades of scholarship. Scott McCloud, David Buckingham, Susanna Stern, me and David Moore, and Patricia Lang, right? Here's the structure of the slide. It's got your name. This is a model, right? Your name. It's got the full citation of the source that you've read. It's got the direct quote or summary or paraphrase. And then it's got your response, right? So Alex Carson starts us off and says that the comic artist Scott McCloud says that objects can turn into people with the magic of comics, right? And this form of engaged creativity makes kids feel like their own identities are validated. That's cool. Cassie Suto, she does it a little different way. She takes a photo of the comic and then she offers her reflections on it, right? And Kristen Palazzolo uses another format, right? So you're going to add your slides below, right? This list. And maybe even in between it if you can figure out how to create a conversation. This is a really fun way to respond to the readings, and it's really the only thing I want you to do next week, because I know you're going to be pretty busy, right? Because next week your Leap 2 is due, right? So that's what we have on tap next week. It turns out that if you liked this week's readings, next week's readings are going to make you crazy because they're so cool. So let's see if you have any questions about what you're doing in the next, in the next 7 days. Any questions about what you're doing in the next 7 days?
Not so much a question about the next 7 days, but last week you had said you were going to send us an assessment of Leap 1.
Yes.
Did those go out? Because I didn't get an email.
Did you not get an email with your grade? Give me a thumbs up if you did receive your grade. Okay, so Mary, let me check to make sure I might have sent it to the wrong email, okay? So I'll check after tonight's class. Thank you for checking on that because you should have received your Leap 1 evaluation by now. Okay, so let's do our sign out. Let's see, we did jazz hands. We did a lot of things. Okay, so did we do Pulp Fiction? Did we do the Pulp Fiction hands? Okay, hands up, ladies and gentlemen. We're saying we're signing off with the Pulp Fiction.
Renee, excuse me.
Yeah.
Are you following me now on Twitter?
I hope so.
Okay. Are you getting?
Winnie, send me a.
I've sent.
So I make sure I am.
I've sent you 4 tweets.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'll go look for them and see if I can find it. If not, I'll email you.
It's right here.
All right. Oh, cool. All right. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Sure. Bye-bye. Thank you.